Hey everybody, hope you had a great trading day. So we're going to get into today. Obviously there was a lot of pain in the market. The larger concern is really what's happening after hours today with earnings. And we're going to address a lot of these earnings and what the stocks are doing and key levels and what to look for. So as always, subscribe to this channel and click the all notifications because what we go over here is extremely timely. And from time to time we do live shows too, and the way to be notified of them is to be subscribed and notified to the channel. So let's just get into this. So right now I don't have any data in for pre and post market. There's nothing in right now. So we're going to put that in, but let's go through this. Let's get rid of the VWAP because we don't need it for the daily. And we can drill into that a little bit later. And let's just look at what transpired today. So this is earnings. The E signifies that just by simply clicking this events button on Trendspider. But what we're looking at is that 150. So we got to that level and we rejected. And now we're wedged in here between these two levels. Okay, see how we closed today? Now we came up with earnings that were absolutely stellar. Beat on the top, beat on the bottom. Everything's clicking. Everything looks amazing. $40 billion just in iPhone sales. It's absolutely insane. You know, they're doing 80 billion. It's a very staggering number when you think about it. But that said, this is what happened. So we beat expectations. We beat on the top and the bottom, and the stock selling off and pulled right to the 21-day moving average after hours, and it's sitting there. So the question becomes, if you break this, you could head to the 50-day. That is possible. So what I would recommend is tomorrow, you need to see how this opens. Before you get involved with this, before you try and, quote, catch the bottom, you really need to get involved with this because it shouldn't be moving like this. Today's news and why we sold off today, you know, that's a conversation we can have in a moment. But just looking at this, came out, great earnings, ran up, reversed, and this is what we're dealing with now. Put the indicators back in, and I just think it's very telling what's going on here. So this stock's got some issues right now, and we have to figure out what those issues are and where it's going to settle. It was a great quarter, but this is shaping up to be a double top. For that to be a confirmed double top, you have to break this. So if you break this tomorrow, right? If you break this 41.61 tomorrow and close below it, this is confirmed as a double top. Okay, that's the easiest way for me to tell you to look at it. And that also would mean that's a good level to look at for us tomorrow, right? Because if we close below that, what else does that mean? It means we're below the 50-day, conservatively below the 50-day, or I'm sorry, the 21-day, and probably not touch it until it gets above there. So AGL, I just wanted to touch base on this one very quickly. I was asked about it, so I always want to cover it. I am interested in how the 50 and the 21 are crossing and how you're rising up through that. If you click off these indicators, you broke out here, but this is your key level, and this is AGL. But I just want to go over this real quick because it's kind of, can you see this? Here, I'll just draw it the whole way. See that level? It all stems back from what? The breakout bar, right? See how the breakout bars, those levels flip? Here it was resistance on this day, resistance on this day, resistance this day, flips to support, flips to support, flips to resistance, 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 right? See, I mean, you see it. It's important to understand that these levels where we break out, either the closes or the highs, right? Even sometimes the bottoms, they become support and resistance lines. So it's important to pay attention to those. So I would argue that you need this to get above there before I would even consider touching it. And I'd like to see some volume. And the next issue that you're going to have is this is the line that broke this channel. So you're going to have to get above 38.64. And then you're going to have to worry about getting above this line right here, $39. So you have some work ahead of you. And I would consider that. AMD, again, we're going to look at this before earnings. Excellent earnings, raised guidance by something like 10%, okay? And this is really what we're doing after hours. So we're basically tightening up. You know, we closed at 91.12. We're at 91.59 right now. This is not really what you want to see when you come out and beat earnings by the number that they beat by and the way that they raise guidance. This is not the action that you're looking for. Let's get rid of these indicators and just focus in on the light gray because that's the after hours For those that ask, this is Trendspider that I use. There's a link in the description if you want to get a 7-day free trial for it. But to get back to this, look, so you break down here, you pop over, right? Can't rally, forms here. What's this? Looks like an evening star. Boom, breaks here. That's all you need to see. If you know candlestick patterns, and I'll link the candlestick video and how to read them to this video, but that's all you needed to see. That was it. Trade was over. So this was when I actually traded after hours, and I'll just show the trade. It was a simple trade, but it's when I traded after hours, and anybody, right, everyone can kind of recognize what this is. Okay, and then you break down. It's not perfect, but what happened as soon as we got above that, right? And then you can kind of see where it goes. So my stop obviously was just this, the evening star. So that was it. It's worth a small little trade. You can even see another little setup right here, right? Here's another little morning star pattern. Breaks above there, right at 90, and then goes again. So you can see how sometimes you can use these little patterns to pick tops and bottoms. Sometimes they work great, sometimes they don't. As long as you have good money management, you can use them. But let's get back to this and talk about this for a moment. So does that look remotely like something that you want to jump into? Does that? So, usually when you see these long, red, nasty bars, it's a top. I mean, here's a long, red, nasty bar, right? I mean, when you see these, they are not ringing endorsements to jump into this. So this is telling me that, this is really a red flag to me for semiconductors. We'll see how we act tomorrow, and we'll see if we see some trades in them. But this is a flag, and you need to have your antenna up with the semiconductor space. So I would not be chasing this right now. I'm not saying you can't trade it, but as far as investing in it and leaving it alone and letting it run, it's not going to work. Now, this is playing out perfectly. This is AN. I guess I was asked because from the newsletter. We're in this from the newsletter. If you don't get the newsletter, there's a link in the bio. It's the one that comes out on Wednesdays is an update on what we're doing, and it's free. And it's a great way to follow along and see some ideas and come up with some ideas and kind of understand what it takes to truly be successful at trading. So see, look at this. This is so clean and so perfect, right? There's your high. Where'd we open? You could put this in a textbook. It's crazy, right? So, and then here, where'd you close? 1555. Where'd you open? Right? 1529. What's this level? 1528. I mean, it's telling you what support is. It's basically, and let's just go through it. It used that as the low, then it used that as your close, then it used it as your open. Okay, this is when you see that pattern and you see the pattern change from low, close, open on one line, a higher high on this, and we're going to go. So you could see a move in this tomorrow. Okay, and this makes perfect sense to me because they're going to start looking for different sectors, meaning when I say they, I'm referring to institutions. Institutions are going to start looking for allocation of capital to different sectors tomorrow. They're going to have to because they got hit today on their vaccines, their semiconductors, their cloud stocks, their banks, everything. Well, we'll go through this. We'll go through the banks, but the cloud stocks is what I meant. But this is people are looking at this and they're getting excited by it, and I don't get it. And that's the XLF, the financial. We'll get into that if we have time. But AN I think could run. If you're not in this yet, if it clears this, now that we've gotten this pattern complete, you'd actually be breaking out of a flag and you can play this. And you're really playing this too, right? You're taking the top of this. Oh, forms another little wedge. Where's that wedge break? The top of this, right? So you can see all this stuff's all connected. ASAN was one we had in the newsletter, right? We get stopped at the close. Did it close there? Nope. We're still in. Some people just use that number and they're out. That's fine. There's not really much to do about this. We got in at 69.30 and this happens. Stopped out, $4 loss. There's not really much you can do about it. Am I buying this long red nasty bar down? No. Because all this bar, the chance of what this bar is going to form now is what? Right? It's either going to form an H, meaning I can rally and trade it, or it's going to form a bear flag. Okay? They're the majority of patterns that this long red nasty bar is going to make. They're going to make my little H pattern, which is going to give me a what? So if I have an H pattern, we can almost say that that's like a rising wedge, right? And then we could see how it drops off, right? Then it breaks this. And then we can also see how we can just form a flag. We've seen these patterns before, but this is the precursor to those patterns developing. So maybe this does trade up to like the 69.30 level again. For those that are in it, we're going to keep monitoring it. You know, for me, looking at this, this was just about as bad as you could get when you broke 71. But they all broke down like this today. Large groups of these broke down like this today, and we're going to go through a bunch of them. So I wouldn't be rushing into that. I just wanted to go through this very quickly for the person that wanted me to look at it, and we're going to just drill into this really quickly. Okay, BTAI. You see how you're pulling, breaking. You can't hold one level. There's not one level that you've been able to hold. So to me, there's absolutely no reason to be in this. You're looking at this and you're wishing and hoping, right? That's all you're doing today, wishing and hoping that this works. My advice is if you're in this and it takes out this low of that red bar right here, okay, if it takes out that low, just get out of it and move on. CSSE, Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment. So I was asked about this once. I wanted to cover it. I thought this one was kind of interesting because you got up here on the point of control, right? And you see how we rejected up here over it? Couldn't get back through it, came back down. The 50 and the 21 are crossing and pointing down. But look at this bar today. For those that don't know, right, that's a dragonfly. So the open and close is the absolute high, right? And so then you look at that and go, well, the open is 34.41. The high is 34.41. Right? My close is 34.30. So I'm off by 11 cents. So it's not a quote true dragonfly, but very rarely is there the perfect, that perfect pattern. But that said, it's a dragonfly. So to most people, they'll just say, oh, it's a hammer. And that's fine. It doesn't really matter. Potato. So what you're looking to do is just hop over this. And by hopping over that, you also have 2/3 of what? A Morningstar pattern. Hop over that, you can probably get to this 38 level. I don't know where else you're trying to get to, but you could get to that 38 level. If it breaks this, you have to get out of it. So there's 3 points to make 4. Some people like those trades and they'll do them all day long. I like higher risk versus reward, but that is there and I wanted to show it. So Disney, I would start looking at this. I'm going to just open this up and I'm going to state why. People are going to have to start looking at where they're going to put capital. And I said that a little earlier tonight. And what I'm getting at is if tech is going to have great earnings and it's going to come in, people are going to have to buy something. Now, what that something is, we just don't know yet. You broke this trend line, then you popped out of it. These wedges are completely shattered, so we really don't need them. I could leave this one in, but it's kind of pointless for a conversation. So here was our original wedge, broke down through it, popped up, came back, retested, and here we go again. Over 181, pull this down, over 181, I would look at this. This would definitely be something that I would take a look at and get involved with. Let me just turn off. I thought I had the Discord off. So it's definitely something that I would get involved with. Over 181, I do think that people are going to start buying some of these beaten down conglomerates and putting cash into them. And we can always go through them and just take a look and see how they did today. And here you go. Here's Procter & Gamble having a great day. And this is what you'll start to see, right? You'll start to see these kinds of names. UNH, maybe they had a good day today. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, they're green. So people start allocating capital to healthcare, to consumer staples, that kind of spaces. And Disney's a perfect industrial to conglomerate to bury money in. And you're holding that point of control. So you're in there. FVRR, I like this. I'm really surprised how we acted today. And it's doing everything right. This is actually one to just tell you ahead of time that this is one that's actually on my short list, and it's on the short list for the newsletter. I'm getting close to earnings, which is concerning to me because it's August 5th, which obviously is next week. But look at this bar here, right? See this bar? Okay. All we need this to do, let's raise above this for a moment, and just put this over here, and then we'll get to it. We're going to click off of these. Okay. So all I'm looking for it to do, 258.16, is pop over that. I've broken this descending line, which is my downward trend line, and now I'm flipping the 258.16 level. That's what I need to get through. If I can get through that, I'm in decent shape. And you can see this right here, right? And let's get rid of this, and we can get rid of this one too. And, you know, just for giggles, because we always want to look at what the other lines have done in the past. Isn't that interesting, right? So people have asked me in the past, do you leave these lines in? Are they negated if they break here? Yeah, the line's void to the point like you're not paying attention to the line anymore because you negated it. But right when you broke down here, but it's interesting to see that when you put that line in there, that they're still respecting that level. Now, what's really kind of cool is you break this line to the upside and this one to the downside through here, gives it a higher degree of probability of pushing through this level. And if we wanted to add and see what the probability of that is, we can just go clean up some of this stuff, take off this, get rid of the volume by price because that's not adding any value. And just throw an RSI real quick. We can just kind of dig into it, right? And this was our level from before. And we can remove this segment line for a moment and click through this and then just see what's going on here. Well, here was our high, right? And here was our break. So it's basically done the same exact thing. So it's not really adding any value. It's just very simply following right along with what it's been doing. So there's not really much to do or say about that. But 258.16 through that, and you could be heading back to this 335 level. I like this a lot, and I would definitely pay attention to it. Google, amazing earnings. And this is exactly what's happening with stocks tonight. And, you know, yeah, you're over the major trend line, and that makes you vulnerable. And we are being very vulnerable right now. I mean, that's what's happening. So let's kind of get into it a little bit and see what's going on. So right now, what you see happening is you see the break, right? Over. Hold on, let me just do it this way. I think I'm better off showing it this way. And I am seeing this. So you can see how we're trading right here and how we're moving. And I expect this to continue, right? I expected this to continue up, but we're not really doing that. We're forming a wedge. I mean, do you really want to be forming a wedge right now? Probably not. So and now you can see what you're doing. And what you're really shooting for is this. You're shooting for the top of this, right? But I wouldn't be in a hurry to be buying this right now. So I'd be biding my time. And let's just keep going. Myrna, mRNA. So here, hold on one second. I have okay, so you came to the top of this line. Right? These are our fib levels. It's time to redraw them now that we have a new top, right? So what I will do is I'll keep that bottom, and now I'll move this one up here because they move. It's just they're fluid. So they've changed now. And so this is really where you would head to, 300. Isn't that interesting how that's the level? And then you kind of go from there. But I don't think there's much to do here. I think if you didn't catch this move, you've missed it. You know, maybe you come back down to this level and you can look at a bounce again. But now you're breaking, right? So one, this is day 2 of a 3 black crow pattern. Do you really want to be involved with it? Probably not. So Microsoft, you know, I'm watching this one out of the corner of my eye because it was actually one that we were talking about after hours tonight in the community, and it's running. So hold on one second here. Okay. So, sorry about that, but I had to get that out. Okay, let's get back to it. So, this is where we closed, And this is where you are after hours. So obviously the conference call is going exceptionally well. They said something. They're mastering the universe in another way, and it's going exceptionally well. So, if you were so inclined to try to buy it down here, obviously this is not the worst place in the world to lock in a profit. So, but what you're seeing is it's trying to reverse. Now, let's assume that we don't have this data, and let's assume that we're just going to have this tomorrow. Well, where is that going to put us? What is that going to do for us, right? That's going to put us in a position where we still don't have anything, right? So we're going to have to break out of this, and it looks like we might do that, right? It looks like you might break through that. Like we're still moving after hours. Look at this. And I'm sorry, I'm a little sidetracked right now, but I did do something. So I'll get back in my groove in about 2 seconds. But see, here's this 290.34 level, right? And you see how you're playing with it right now? We're watching it live, and you can see what's going on with it. So they're screwing around with that level. There's no real better technical term than screwing around. So that's what we're going to use. And what they're trying to do is to see, are they going to lure people in? Are they going to lure enough people in that they show their true hand? Are they going to, or is that it? Or is that the level? So, that's what I was doing when, because I knew where this level was. So that's what I was doing. If you bought it after hours, you wanted to sell it, this is where you'd want to get out. But I think that you have to watch this tomorrow. Now, the reversal based upon the conference call, which I'm not on right now because I'm recording this, obviously is pretty good. And I'll listen to the conference calls tonight. But what you're seeing now is, look at this Nokia and the $6 range. And I just want to point this out for people. I get this name. I like it. I really wish that they would get it together. I don't know why the stock constantly does this, but this is where we looked at getting in it last time when it broke out above there, broke below there, formed a morning star, and now you're just basing. There's nothing to do here. I can put in the bells and whistles, like the 50, the 21, the 200, but it doesn't really add any value. So you're just really basing right now, and you're just going to have to deal with that. PNR. This was interesting and definitely worth covering, and it was one of the reasons why I wanted to cover it. Look at this. So I'm not actually sure what space this is in. There's 7,000 stocks out there. So if someone wants to comment, let me know what Pentair does. I could look it up later, but look at this. 70, 78, you're broken out. You have completely reversed today. Were there earnings? Yeah. That doesn't get any cleaner. That does not get any cleaner. So that's exactly what you're looking for. And you could shoot up to this level. You could get up here, 77, 76 pretty quickly. So just something to consider, something to look at. I like this trade. I like this a lot. I love when you have these stocks that trade like this, test that 50-day like this did, and now the earnings quarter's behind us. This is just that's something to get excited about, right? Look at this. It's beautiful. Look how it's respecting that 21 week. It's everything. So I like this a lot. And frankly, I won't do it on the weekly. I'll do it on the daily. But this has to be your drop dead stop. And really, if you broke the 70, 78 level, you'd want to have your antenna raised a little bit and have some concern. So now let's look at REML. Okay, so this is Credit Suisse, and it's some kind of, it looks like it's some kind of fund of some kind, something I'm not familiar with. I just kind of wanted to point this out very quickly. You have the 50 crossing the 21 to the downside. I swear I have this little button off, but apparently I don't. But you have this to the downside, and I really think that you have to watch these crossing. And the fact that you're not able to rally through this line is telling you everything you need to know. Starbucks. So Starbucks had great earnings, like just absolutely exceptional earnings. And this is what it did after hours. And this is what you're seeing with these stocks after hours. This is exactly what you see happening. So This was the call. I read the call. I haven't listened to the conference call yet. I read the report. The report was excellent. So it does happen. You have great earnings and they go down. Your antenna needs to go up. You need to pay attention to that. It's something worth paying attention to. And that is as I refer to them, a nasty red bar. And you really don't want to be involved in that until you figure it out. Now, if you look at this, you can see the top end of the trading range. If we drew this out just a little bit more, was up here. So you had room, right? But you didn't have room here. So hold on one second. Maybe this is it. Maybe this will do it. And I can mute that. So I have so many different computers on. I don't know where the beep's coming from. Sorry about that, guys and girls. So here's your low end trend line, and that's what you're looking for to hold. So you're looking for this to hold around 120. Okay. I would not touch this until it finds a bottom. SE was one that ran up and pulled back. And I just want to show you this. See, this is pre and post market. Now look at this just straight up trading on the day, right? Now you're down about 4 after hours, which is not overly surprising. I mean, you kind of had to know that these rallies at the end were just short covering. People that shorted and then they're like, oh, wow, the rally's coming. It is good that you got above your 50-day moving average. I could see how we've held here before. If I was in this trade, just if a close below that level is probably going to have me out of it. I don't have a position in this right now. I did earlier. I was on both sides of this today and frankly made pennies. So, it just, and the one time it just completely reversed over what I thought it was going to do. Somebody asked me earlier what I was looking at when I put the short on, and it was pretty clear to me that like when we were breaking down here, I thought we were heading for another level. I mean, when you start doing stuff like this, when you start seeing this, right? And here's your break. Okay, so here's one break, and then you base, and then you form another break here, and you start like this, and then these bars start getting wider. Usually it means there's going to be some level of capitulation. Now, that's not what happened here. What happened here was it stopped dead in its tracks and then reversed and then begun its ascent. And it happens. There's not much you can do about it. That's why you have stops, and it's more about money management. But that's what I saw with it. So to me, it was worth the risk. Now, if you go and take a look at this on the daily, is this something you want to be jumping into right now? Probably not. I would be really careful. If it breaks the 50, right? Usually if it breaks the 50, it goes to what? It comes down to this 200 range. So just consider that. Tableau, TBLA. I wanted to cover this one just because of this. Okay, so you see that bar we just clicked on? So see how I cannot get above that bar and I'm just sitting there? That's your key level. So you need to get above that. I think it's great that you have this trend line here and you got above it. You could probably actually draw it from here on up and make it look really super, right? So, and you can see that, and there's your trend. Okay. The first step to getting through this trend is this 1032. Frankly, if it came down and got through this level, I wouldn't care until I got through 1032. And then you could take a look at it. So TRMR. So I don't really have 30 days. I'm close to it, but I really don't have it. So what I'm going to do is just go to an hourly chart, and we can take a look at it from there. Okay. So here's your range. You broke out of that range, right? Tested it, broke out again, set a new range. See where I'm going with this? And then it just keeps stepping them up. So right now, really what you're focused on is this. So there's your support, 2271. Now, whether or not you stay in this or don't stay in this, that's your support level. And that's the level that you need to watch. And then you need to see if this is going to break out. Okay. That's got to be your focus. There's not really much more to say about it. There's this line that is, clear as day. But I'll draw it anyway, just in case people didn't see it. But you just have to see what happens with this. I like it. I do. I like this. I like it. I like what I'm saying. How are we doing volume wise? What's going on? Not a whole heck of a lot. Maybe there's more going on there than we think if we click on relative volume. There is not really that much more going on. 2.5 times in the last hour. That I'll take it. So Tesla, this was just a very interesting day to say the least. So let's just get off all these moving averages. Just so we're clear, I'll put these on real quick just to make a statement. Okay, so you broke and closed above the 50 day, or the 200 day, and you tested the 50 and you bounced off of it. Okay, that's the level that you bounced off of. Okay, so just keep that in mind. That's the level that found support. Now, that said, let's get rid of them for a moment and just look at what's going on here. Okay, this is your ascending wedge, right? And look at how we broke it and popped back into it today. I haven't moved that channel, and we popped right back into it today. So what does that mean? Frankly, I don't know. I don't have an answer yet, because there's a lot of going on here that is just not working. We came out with earnings. They were good. My sell volume is substantially greater than my buy volume. The body of this red bar completely encompasses the body of this green bar. So technically, to me, I have a bearish engulfing sitting right on a major support line where the 200 and the 50 are in play. So the easiest way to make a decision here is to say, if I take out that low, 627.25, chances are that day I'm probably not closing above the 50 and the 200 day, and I want to avoid it or possibly, start a short position if I see something like that. Because breaking this ascending, like you see this ascending line, breaking that takes you to this point, right? That's your target. So just keep that in mind. I would not be chasing this. I would not think it's over. It's down another, if I put in the pre-market data, you'll see that it's down 5 points after hours. And we're just seeing things bounce around. So Google had great earnings, and one of the beneficiaries of that is going to be TTD. So we're going to close this up for a moment, and I just want to show you this after hours because I think it's important to see. So you ran up and you had no follow through, right? So instead of chasing this, let's see how we act tomorrow, and let's see what happens tomorrow. So to me, I really like this name. It's one we've been in and we've been getting stopped out of and then getting back in. What you really need to do is we really need to see how this is going to play out. And we will. We'll figure it out. But we need to see it tomorrow, and we need to see it in action before we do anything with it. Google's numbers show that this should just continue to crush, right? But do I really want to start a position on it here? You just don't know what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, right? I mean, this was last earnings. This was the earnings before. This was the other earnings. So you just don't know what's coming. So we're really going to have to watch this. So Wingstop, I don't know, really have much to say. I can't believe how well this is doing. So earnings are supposed to come out, and they're supposed to come out on the 28th, which is tomorrow. So I would not be a buyer before that. That said, this 172 level, 172.41 looks absolutely insane. And here you are, right here. And you can actually draw that a lot better. But you can see how we just keep going. Every bounce is just bought, every single one. So it looks like we're going to break that 172.41 on earnings. You don't know how it's going to act. This time it was up 10%, down 10%. I have no idea how Wingstops are doing. I don't think anybody does. Let's look at this on a weekly. Yeah, I mean, this just looks beautiful. And really, you would get through that whole awful week if you can get above this. And you held this line the whole time. You held that trend line the whole time for a month. Wow. So this can go a lot higher. I mean, a lot higher. So, I mean, this could be a real winner. So let's see how they do with earnings, and then we'll go from there. But I would not buy it before earnings just because you just don't know. So ZM actually held in there today, surprisingly. It didn't really fall apart considering the circumstances. Now, there are a couple levels that we're going to just talk about here. So we didn't really fall apart, but you're still trapped in there, right? With Zoom, we're still trapped between that 50-day and that 21-day. So there's not really a whole heck of a lot to do until that figures itself out. I wouldn't be a buyer at this level now. And that bar technically is encompassing the green bar, which means I have a bearish engulfing, which means I have a reversal pattern, right? So keep that in mind. And, if you take out a lower low here, chances are we're going to break that 50. And we're going to have to watch that and see what happens with it. But, I would not be chasing anything in this market. And, I just want to point this out today, why I have it as we wrap up. You went right here today. Okay. You went right to the 21 in one day. Okay. The last time we had a down day like this, and we are approaching this level, which does start to get us kind of wonky. But when you see this, okay, this is usually not a one-day event. And that's the point that I'm trying to get across today. They're usually, when you have a long bar down like that, and that is a long bar, if you look at this, it's not like here or one of these, but it's the start. And that's why my antenna was up. For those that, I was talking to this morning, that's why my antenna was up. That's why I stated, we were looking at these this morning going, the IBB, that didn't break, right? Which is the technology or the biotech index, that didn't break. Cloud stocks, right? That wasn't breaking out, right? And then we went to the SOX and we looked at the SOX. That wasn't breaking out. So if these are not going to break out, we're not going to go higher. What they've done is they've done the exact opposite. They've fallen back into their bases. So until this resolves itself, overall, I'm going to stick with the phrase less is more. And when you're out there trading, think short term right now. Don't think that you're in this, that this is going to run away, because it's pretty clear that you may have 1 or 2 more days of this before going higher again. And I don't think we're broken. I think we're in a bull market. I don't think it's going to change, but you can have pullbacks, and this can go on for a couple more days. So that's it. Any questions, just reach out and comment. Thank you very much. Have a great day.